This is a slippery slope, ladies and gentlemen. The reason that it's a slippery slope is because now they're making this a race issue, expectedly. They are expectedly making this a race issue, as though we didn't see this coming. And also, I'm going to start off with the mother and the son, her son and the mother, and what their perspective is, and then we're going to go over into the police reform advocates, and we're going to see what they got to say. But I already anticipated that this was going to be some of the things that they highlighted during election season, because every election season, it becomes about a black-white issue, police versus citizen issue, and it's distracting you from the things that's really mattering in this election. But we're going to get there. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it rocking, y'all.
Who was Sonya Massey for people who don't know her?
She was very smart, and she's always helping everybody but herself. She really was a homebody and a good mom.
Malachi, what was your mom like?
She was just a ball of love, honestly, to me. She cooked me the best food.
All of these people look the exact same.
She was just a ball of energy, like a ball of energy. She could talk to anybody, you know. She's just the most loving person ever.
Does it feel like she's gone?
No. This is feeling surreal to me right now. She had lupus and stuff like that, so I would never think she would pass from like anything like this. I would think it was from that, but she would always tell me that if she did pass, just be strong. That's all I could do for her.
It's not real. This can't be real. I don't know how this could be real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That is so sad, man. That is so sad. To get a phone call saying that your daughter or your mother has passed away because of a police shooting and they trying to finesse it, knowing that they got body cam footage.
I'm sorry for your loss, too. And how did you find out that a deputy had shot your mother?
I found out from my cousin telling me.
What do you want to see done now?
I want him to get for full term, the highest amount of years he can get until death.
Do you think Sonya would still be alive if she had not been black?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he would have definitely been more cautious. He wouldn't have did that, I don't think.
No, he wouldn't have did it at all.
We're going to get justice for sure. I know. We are for sure. I'm positive. I'm positive.
Away from my husband in the water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
I
rebuke you in the name of
God, I swear to God.
She said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. He said, you better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you in your effing face. I'll effing shoot you right in your effing face. Look, ain't nothing that you can tell me under no circumstance that will tell me that is a reasonable response to somebody saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop
I can't watch it. I just can't watch it. I cannot watch it. It's not logical to me. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Let me go over to the police reform advocates and see what they got to say. I have not watched this video, but I'm curious as to what they think, because we already got a problem with people defunding the police in the first place, and this does not contribute into it.
Sonya Pruitt, founder of police reform advocacy group Black Police Experience and retired captain of the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department. Sonya, thank you so much for coming on the show. First, just like to get your reaction to the body cam video of Sonya Massey being shot and killed in her own home.
Thank you for having me. And first, my condolences to the Massey family and their loved ones. This was a really tragic incident that really could have been avoided. There was clearly a mental health element. We have a young woman calling for the police, ostensibly to check for a prowler, perhaps. And then the deputies come, and then she becomes someone who's under suspicion. I'm going to jump right to it. This woman asked for help. The deputies came. They have a conversation with her. There is something going on with the conversation where you might summarize or surmise that maybe there is a mental health element. And so now I know that, and I'm going to treat this person, this human being, with that in mind. But instead, when Miss Massey goes to her kitchen, she takes a pot off the stove, a pot of supposedly boiling water, the deputy becomes defensive. And then she becomes someone who is under suspicion. I have an issue with officers who put themselves in harm's way. In this case, the deputy asks or orders Miss Massey to put the pot down. She seems confused. She's trying to, like, what am I supposed to do? And the next thing you know, he has shot her. But if you are concerned about a boiling pot of water and you're an officer and you're in the space that he was in, why not retreat? The analogy for me is when officers want to hang on to the frame of a car door or put themselves in front of a moving vehicle and then expect that they can use lethal force because they placed themselves in this situation and it created this escalation instead of de-escalation. And that is what I see here.
What would have been the appropriate response in this situation? She starts saying, that she rebukes Satan or the devil, and it seems like she's still there with the pot. What would you have liked to have seen the officers do?
She rebuked him.
So if I see that she's picked up a boiling pot of water, I might just say, Miss Massey, and talk to her gently, please put that down. She looked as though she was trying to comply with whatever it was the deputy was saying, but maybe she became confused. And those, I'm going to jump a little bit forward about training. Are we training our law enforcement to recognize humanity?
If you can't recognize humanity, then you shouldn't even be a law enforcement officer in the first place. I was talking to somebody that I was coaching, and he was telling me that he was actually applying to be a police officer for the Los Angeles Police Department. And I said, oh, okay. And so I've learned so much through people. What processes are, and it makes it easier for me to be able to have these conversations because I could then use real life experiences in order to illustrate a point. And he said, Anton, they make you go through all of these different interviews and you got to do this physical fitness and they want to know exactly what your mental health is and they trying to figure out whether or not you got empathy and all of this. I said, really? He said, yeah, man. He said, they pay a lot of money, not in comparison to what it costs to live over in Los Angeles or in California. He said, but compared to other police departments, they pay some of the best rates and they have some of the best healthcare and all of this stuff. He said, but the barrier to entry is high. He said, man, I had to go through this, and I don't know if I answered this question right or whatever, so on and so forth. And so it didn't resonate and it didn't hit me because I was just like, man, that's a lot to be a police officer. But now thinking back on that conversation, they're trying to evaluate whether or not you are a decent human being before they even bring you onto the force and start considering all of the other physical requirements that it takes in order to be a police officer. Why? Because they need to understand whether or not you have a humanistic or humanity, or you actually can see the good in people so you can make better decisions whether you're on a job. Now, I understand what she's saying because she's speaking from the perspective of somebody that is viewing this and saying that they need better training. No, listen. One of the things that we look for in corporate America, let alone police departments or public servants, one of the things that we look for in corporate America is whether or not you are a cultural fit. Meaning, are you an a-hole? Are you going to be a problem person? Or are you a person that actually works well with others and you can fit into what it is that we're trying to do here inside of this organization? Those people don't need training. They don't need to be there at all. So if we're sitting here saying, hey, they need to be trained to be, have more humanity or to view people in a different type of way, that just tells me, listen, this ain't the job for you. You need to be on an oil rig somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean trying to draw some oil for the rest of humanity. You are not fit to be a public servant to be paid with tax dollars. I don't think in this situation, how you deal with the general public, I'm not really sure that there's a training module or thing that you can take to help you to deal with people in a nicer way. Either you a nice person or you not.
when they respond to calls for service. Everybody is not out to kill the police. Everyone is not out to attack the police. Sometimes people are going through something. They don't deserve to die because they cannot make a split-second decision, which is what law enforcement asks the citizenry of this country to do. Allow for us to make a split-second decision.
The Massey family attorney Ben Crump told ABC News that the 36-year-old struggled with mental health. And far too often we see these types of encounters turn violent or deadly when mental health is at play, particularly for people of color. What do you think the solution is with that?
That's a great question. So, Black people are killed by police at twice the rate of white people, doing the most mundane of things, watching television, playing, in the case of a Tatiana Jefferson in Texas, playing with her nephew and thinking there's a prowler outside and picking up her gun because she wants to protect her family.
And this is where I start to have a problem with the conversation, because we then remove it from the individual and then we start to place blanket statements on organizations and then Black people in general. And that's bullshit. It's 100% bull. It's nonsense. It's not right. It's not true. And it doesn't make sense. Because I can also make the argument and say police officers are killed at 3 times the rate by Black people than any other culture or any other people that's then looking to do harm to Black people in general. I could cite several examples of police officers, both a woman that's a Black woman and a man that was not. He was a white man over in Chicago, off duty. One was on duty and one was off duty. And then they just got their brains blew out by the same type of culprits that we see that have braids or dreads or whatever. And so we need to stop this narrative, because this is turning into a shit show. Just real talk. If we just want to have a real conversation, it's turning into nonsense. And now it's turning into, well, Black versus the police, Black versus white. It's always going to go into race. And this is the thing that then distracts us from being able to hold people accountable and then to get to the real resolution, because the problem isn't police versus Black people. It's culture versus bad apples inside of these organizations that need to be removed and for people to be able to do the things that they're supposed to do. Sometimes people warrant certain things that's done against them because they don't comply, and then they then become a threat to not only the police, and it's a lot of police officers that don't go home every single day. I was just looking at and I was reacting to a police officer or a bunch of police officers that wind up losing their life because they went to go serve a warrant from a Black person. So should that then mean for me to say all Black people are a threat to the police and that's why they on guard more? No, it becomes toxic. It becomes divisive. It becomes a distraction. And I don't believe in any capacity whatsoever that this should become a race thing. It should not be a race thing. This should be an individual that was a demon that should have never had a uniform on in the first place. And then how can we then prevent this or solve for this problem? I hate when they start to make this a race thing. Aggravates me. It aggravates me to my soul, to my core. Anyway.